Okay, my last video was pretty wordy and had a lot of math. Hi, Kat. She's going to knock stuff over. So I'm just going to condense the main points down in case you don't want to watch that whole thing. All right, point is, say you're in a river situation. Your head's up. It's you and one other guy or gal, whatever. And you're going to make a bet for value, right? Because you have, say, ace king, right? Come on, find me a king. There we go. King jack would be really good here, actually. But you got ace king right on this board. If you're gonna bet and you want the other guy to call you, you will need to balance that out in your range with some bluffs. So maybe you bluff with 6-7 suited, maybe bluff with 6-4 suited, whatever. But just the point is, you need to have a certain number of bluffs in your range to balance out the good hands. And importantly, the bigger you bet, the more bluffs you want to have in your hand, right? If you bet half pot, you want to have about a quarter of your range as bluffs. If you bet full pot, you know, it's like the pot is $10 and you decide to bet another 10, you want about a third of your hands to be bluffs in this situation, right? The smaller you bet, the fewer of your hands you need to be bluffs. If you do something really goofy, like you bet $1, then, you know, it's going to be like 9% of your hands are going to be bluffs. In practice, if you ever make a bet this small, just don't even bother bluffing. Like against a computer, they might be able to detect your weakness, but human beings aren't going to. But anyway, also I would never bet that small anyway. So yeah, you want to balance out your good hands with some bluffs. On the river, you know, if you're betting big, you should have like a third of your hands are bluffs. Moving backwards to the turn. Okay, so you have some of the hands that you want to take all the way to the river, right? Like some bluffs, like say 6-7 here, right? I'm going to bluff. If I got 6-7, I'm going to bluff here. And when the river rolls off, if it doesn't complete the straight, I'm still going to bluff, right? Then there's some bluffs that you want to give up on, right? So like you bluff here, but if it doesn't hit on the river, forget it. Like maybe I'd bluff a diamond draw here, but if I don't get the third diamond on the river, forget it, right? So roughly speaking, on the turn, you want to have about one bluff for every value bet, okay? And then going back to the flop, you want to have about 2 value bets for every bluff. And I explained the math for this in the other video. You can watch the whole thing if you want to. I just realized after I made it, I'm like, okay, that's a long video. Nobody's going to watch the whole thing. So this is if you're making bets that are like 2/3 to full pot size bet, like 75, 80, 85% of the pot, right? So like if the pot's $10 and you want to bet $8, you know, like that's a decent rules to follow. And you can use different numbers. It all ends up pretty close to these ratios. This 2-to-1 valued bluff on the river, 1-to-1 on the turn, 1-to-2 on the flop. So yeah, that's good to have in mind. Once again, this is only for heads up situations, especially when you're playing when you have like a situation where you would have some bluffs in your range. So like button, the cutoff, usually late position. That's where you're going to be doing this. Yeah, main takeaways. You want to have a complete strategy like, okay, these are the hands I bluff on the flop, give up on the turn. These are the hands I go 2 streets, and these are the hands I'm going to bluff the whole way. And then these are my good hands. And my good hands, I'm going to keep betting until they're not good anymore, right? And the bigger your bets, the more bluffs you want to have in your range. The smaller your bets, the fewer bluffs you want to have in your range. And if you bet small enough, don't really worry about balancing it out with bluffs. Okay, that is bluff to value ratios, the TLDR version.